Understanding the short-term scenario, medium term, and what medium to long term looks like gives you a clear and better perspective. Now, this goes with almost every asset, and it kind of gives you an idea of what you can anticipate. So here for XRP, it does show you that short term, that's a 4-hour chart, right? You may actually see a small run to the upside. So you are going to look through last MACD crosses to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each time when you did this, you actually got a move to the upside. I actually missed one here. If you observe that run, around 8% there. So now one thing is for sure, short term is not bad. But again, even if you are running up to this point, it does not actually show you like a massive run up. So the question is, why are we this weak in price action to the upside? So then you'll have to visit daily, because the pressure on the daily is to the downside. That plays out and that supersedes what the 4-hour chart shows us. Now we are like, okay, fine. If I see like maybe for next 7 days, 10 days, we're coming back down, then what's next 1 month, 2 months bringing us? Great. So you actually go on a 3-day chart, and this is what I actually suggest you. Daily chart that can play out, and then you can anticipate a bounce, because each time when you do these crosses, the price kind of slows a little bit down and then go up. So if you notice how things played out historically, and we are looking for like last 2 years, and this kind of gives you a little bit more clarity over what you can anticipate, because at a time when the 20-day moving average crossed the 50-day moving average to the upside, you made a top, you came back lower. At the same time here, we are right now observing the 20 is crossing the 50 to the downside. Usually, by that time, you make a top or bottom. So here, it's like you're crossing to the downside, so you're making a bottom, and then you may go up. So you really don't have too much time to make this bottom. So most likely, you may see XRP running towards 0.33, 0.32, that level before it actually bounces back up. So now the question is, okay, will that happen? So in between, this breakout to the downside has not yet been retested. So let's actually see what is the possibility in the market, because you do see narrative like this out there, and it gets a lot more confusing when you're like, okay, I do understand what's the fundamental of an asset. I do understand what's the macro point looking like. And these kind of gives you a narrative of what it looks like for next 2 years, next 3 years. But you do have to take your time and look at what's happening in the most recent fundamental understanding. So these are like November 8, which is not that old, and it's again a scholar article. So when you go through this, they talk about how a pivot is coming, and this can actually put in a clear rule and statutes for this asset class. Right now, the fundamentals are okay for this asset because of the SEC. If you look outside US, it's perfect. But inside the US, it's right now so much cloudy because of SEC. But what do you think the market is actually going to bring to us? That's what we're going to discuss today. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10%. So that now we actually saw that XRP is going to have a short-term run, retesting this range, and then a drop, followed by which we are going to go upside. So your time horizon is like next 3 days, 4 days. You're looking for the price to drop, maybe 7 days. But on a daily, it suggests next 20 days, 25 days, you will reach this range. So that short-term run to the upside would be maybe finished in 3 days to 5 days. And then you come back lower to fulfill this one on the daily. And then you actually bounce. So this drop shown here is the first phase coming down here. And then you bounce back up. So the RSI is going to give you a clear indication. Now the question is, if you are in the market, you also do have other assets in your portfolio. Great. So general market, the altcoin market right now actually shows you that it crossed to the upside, and that actual cross was on August this year. Great. So it's August, September, October, November. We are in December, 5 months after the cross. Now we actually go back in history to see like, okay, the actual cross here, and then like 5 months, you are running back to the upside. So you actually got, now this is something which I usually highlight most of the time. Look at the difference between moving averages. Now this is a weekly chart. So the simplest tool which you can use is like, say, just take a measurement tool and see how low the 20-day moving average or 21-day moving average is from the 50-day moving average at the beginning. See here it's 22%. Great. Now we actually pull it down to this level where you had that euphoric sell-off and you try to measure what was the total fluctuation. And here it happens to be 44. Now, after which, as it goes up, you see it reducing. So you can see the angle or the slope between these two lines are increasing at first and then decreasing. Great. Now we are not going into geometry, don't worry. Here you come back and you are looking at what's happening right now. So the slope is actually increasing, deviating. You are getting that wide opening mouth between two. But as of now, you see like it's starting to slowly close, which is a good sign. Great. Now, to get clarity, 100%, we will have to look at a short term compared to this one. Great. You then go on to a 3-day chart from a weekly. And you want to actually see what the moving averages are doing. It actually tried to cross to the upside once, but got rejected. But right now, the mouth opening to the downside is not wide like this. So your slope difference is not that much. Or in other words, simple terms, the momentum to the downside is not huge right now. Great. So you actually go into look the RSI, the strength from the buyers and sellers. You want to really know like, okay, what really is happening? And this is the reason why you don't have that much momentum to the downside. Because you are at a support which is like, from May. So you are holding this line since your MACD crossed here. That was the double bottom in the RSI, giving you a signal with the MACD crossing to the upside. So ever since then, if you note, you have a trend line here, which kind of makes an inverse head and shoulder pattern here. Now, not yet confirmed, but just it's playing out. And at the same time, you do see how the market is behaving. Now you're at a support, you want to bounce. Now we don't know whether we're going to break higher or not. But again, we're going to bounce. And that bounce is going to be this rally. And I definitely believe if we want to get this rally here, we need to see a break to the upside for sure. There is no doubt in that. So yeah, in the market, you will see these coins slowly running a little bit up, a little bit down. And, main thing you should look at is like last 1 week, you see some of these assets dropping. And you need to actually understand, is that something fundamental? Is that a panic? Is that a fear in the market, which is actually making this price fluctuation? Because you make money when it is undervalued, right? Otherwise, you are an investor. It goes up, down, you don't care. What you do is, say, for example, this is the price action. What you easily do here is, if this is your axis and the price action is slowly moving like this, what you can do is buy here, buy here, buy here. Whenever you get the cash flow, you buy. You don't care whether it's at the top or bottom, because eventually you are taking on this trend line. Whether it's at the upside or to the downside, you are following that trend line. Now, I'll take the same asset for an example. Here, TWT. Okay, fine. You're going to this Trust Wallet and you'll open a dollar-based chart. Here, for example, you're looking at this one and clearly you can see a trend line moving to the upside. You're moving up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So if you're someone who is accumulating this, you now have an idea what's happening. Fine. Then you're like, okay, I'm a technical guy. I want to see technical levels. Great. Now you look at your supports and it clearly shows you like there is a huge possibility this is an ascending triangle, which broke to the upside right now is being retested. If you miss the breakout, most likely this can be a great opportunity. So you actually want to confirm that. So you go into a higher time frame structure. Don't miss that point. higher time frame structure and look at whether the market agrees. Now I'm like, okay, right now the support is where the RSI is at, or RSI is at the support. Fine. So what you want to observe here finally is that the price bounce, RSI continue. So you now have to literally go to a short-term chart to see you dropped lower with the wick, but did you retest that wick lower? If not, most likely you are going to get that. Here you see this, you got a wick to the downside, you go a little bit up, but you again come back down to test this. If that test fails, now you go further lower. That's an indication. This is just a retest and going back down. Great. You can clearly see that on a higher time frame structure, maybe 2 hour, maybe 4 hour, but you're still going to see that. Say we are going back to a 4 hour chart, which is like a short term, not even medium term. Medium term comes in 4 hour if you zoom out, but at that point you can't really see it like a candlestick chart. It most likely looks like a bar chart, right? So you come back here and you're like, okay, fine. Right now it does not actually agree with the perspective of it's going back up unless you break this one. And usually what happens in the market is if it's a rising wedge, this is what you can anticipate. It goes down to that level of support and then bounce back up. This is going to be something of interest if you are looking for an entry as a trader. If you're an investor, as we just discussed, you're just following the trend line. You don't actually care much because you don't have time to stick to the screen 24 hours. And most of us who are like, working, have a family, you're busy with that. That's how you actually invest. You have a longer time horizon than others who are here for 3 months or a year or 2 and they're done. Whereas those who are long, they tend to look for a year towards 3, 5, 10 years because their horizon is higher and their liquidity needs are lower. That is an important point because if your liquidity needs are not being met, when the price goes down and you need money, you'll have to sell that. So having the emergency fund prepared for an emergency help you not to sell during red time. That's a painful process. Believe me, I've gone through that because I'm here in the market all the way from 2017. I've seen all this. Personally, I've experienced all those. And some of those I regret. Back in 2017, 2018, when the 2017 market was going up, it was all good, great. You scheme up a little bit of profit. You said it's fine. But when the market goes down, it's not. You reduce your units you've been holding throughout this volatility. And the fundamental has not changed. Say, for example, Trust Wallet right now, it's fear, right? Binance, Issue, the FUD, all those is coming into the market. Great. Now we actually go back in the same market. We want to look at the other side of this, which is like the assets which are running higher. Now, these are like outliers. We know that. You look at this chart, you'll understand. It goes up, it comes back down. It goes up, it comes back down. So it does not actually make much value if you are trying to learn from that. Say another one here is XDC. We did a study recently. Then it's like Toncoin. Fine. You go on to Toncoin. It's like the Telegram computer network where, it's like an open network where it was Telegram. Then I think the US had an issue and Telegram moved out. Now it's a separate one. Fine. So if you are trying to learn from this one, again, now you can go all the way from weekly towards an hourly chart, depending on what type of an investor or trader you are. If your horizon is too short, now you're looking for a 4 hour chart or something lower. If your horizon is really big, you can look at 4 hour, that's great, but your primary focus is on a weekly and 3-day chart. Here, the MACD shows you I crossed to the upside. RSI just confirmed that this is a new trend, which is really hard to see. This was the divergence. Understand this. The divergence did actually happen at the bottom here where the price put in a double bottom. You got a rising trend line in the strength index, which happened to stay there as a strong support when it came back down after the first rally, which people thought is a disbelief rally. Now, again, we have seen this pattern in different assets. Some of them played out, some of them did not. But here you got an inverse head and shoulder, which broke to the upside. Now, yes, I agree. We did not happen to retest this range of $2. So that's a possibility, huge possibility. And then we may bounce. So technically, these levels are valid in the market. And if you're trying to catch each top and bottom, it's going to be really hard. Unless you have, say you want to put $10,000. You actually split that into 10 and put at different orders. which is not that great. Whereas if you're just putting in, so keep 2,500 here, and whenever you see that asset moving above or below the moving average, say you buy, price drops. Now in the 10,000, as I always say, if you want to put in 10,000, you're trying to see like 2,500 into 4, or you're waiting there literally with 3,300 3 times, depending upon how long you have to put in that capital. If you're so busy and you don't have time, you put all 10 in. But usually I don't support that. I usually say have 3 to 5 positions in one assets for that capital which you have. If it's $1,000, split it 5 times, 4 times, whatever you want. But that helps you to actually align yourself closer to this trend line, not a lot above, not a lot below. But eventually, if you're looking at this and saying, okay, this is an asset which I think the measured move is going to be like this, it starts from here and you go up, then it's fine. You are going to take your profit somewhere close to that measured move, right? So this is what the market is showing you right now. So it's your decision to either buy into that bearish narrative or look for a neutral position which you can actually enter. So this all goes back to the BTC dominance. Like, is more money going into Bitcoin, or is altcoins attracting more money? Right now, it kind of shows you an Adam and Eve pattern on a weekly on the Bitcoin dominance, which usually is a bullish sign. I must say that. And if Bitcoin dominance is rising, we talked about this scenario. Bitcoin is going to move back up and also going to slowly follow that, but not all assets will have momentum. Some small cap will do well, but not all of them will follow that. Now, this is the Adam and Eve structure. So you are like, okay, what's the measured move for that? You take note of that, and it's like 10%. So the Bitcoin dominance going up 10% will take you to 44, which compared to where we are right now is high. Then we actually look at what's happening right now. And I'm like, this is clear. Someone who's being paid by the taxpayers' money, sitting at the top of a regulatory institution, manipulating what they should give the taxpayers as information, who they met when they are on their job. That's a bad thing. You must listen to this video, actually. Shout out to James Anthony for putting this one. And it clearly identifies like, okay, these guys are corrupt. Otherwise, they don't have to do this. And this is happening at a time when the world is focusing on opportunities inside this asset class. For payments especially. And then you see like people coming out and putting all those bullshit here in the market saying this does not work. That's not reality. It does work. This is actually talking about how things work, and XRP does not satisfy all 3 factors. Now understand, you may have different view, they may have different view, but this is a research article which is going to be cited in different records. That's how things work. So now we go back to like, okay, who's funding this research? If that's a research fund, who funds that research fund? All that question can come into the picture. I agree. But again, this is not the narrative we are looking at. This is kind of the narrative we are looking at. How the expansion is exploding and how this fundamental can come in. Because when the macro picture is going to change, as the economy is being stimulated by the governments, they are right now tightening. They're not stimulating. Instead, they are taking the air out in US and other places. China has been doing that for some time. You saw what happened to the real estate giants in China. And right now, they're feeling the heat, and the central banks will have to start doing the positive side, not the negative side. So they will have to do open market meetings, operations, and put more money into the market. Automatically, this is going to come. And when it comes, if you have patience, you're still here in the market and you're making money, because right now you actually see how fundamentals are evolving. Fundamentals are ever and ever stronger, and it's growing stronger every day. So if you don't see a fundamental update or the developers actively seeking to improve the project, now ask whether you are in the right asset. Whereas for XRP, you don't actually see such things. It's like, okay, we are going on the sustainable path. It's the current narrative. We are set. We solve a problem, and it's being proved by different individuals, institutions all around the globe. That's what we actually want to see. Now, Guys, if you actually receive value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you have 5 to 10 minutes more, please do visit this new channel of mine. You may get further value. Now, this is not crypto, completely agree. But if you are looking to succeed in life, for motivation, for inspiration, and how things actually work in real life, I think you may find what you actually want. Listen to these videos. It's just 5 minutes close to that, and it may help you. And if it does, please do hit that like and subscribe button there too. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.